a truer thing has never been said. Anyways, welcome to my channel. Today I thought that since it's college decision time and many of us are getting our college decisions back, that it would be awesome to share with you my experience so far as a student who went to college not straight out of high school. I took a gap decade. When I was applying to schools and I was writing my essays, I watched a lot of these, and most of the people that are posting these college admission essays are super smart young kids right out of high school. So while I really enjoyed listening to them, they weren't that helpful for me. I wanted to write about the 10 years of experience I'd had since high school. So I thought that I would share my essays since I did get into all 4 of the colleges that I applied to. All 4 of the colleges that I applied to are also very highly ranked schools, and I have decided on UCLA. So I'm gonna read you my essays. I'm gonna give you some tips that I've just learned as being a advanced in age student. I'm not that advanced. I'm turning 30. So tell me I look 16. And then at the end, I'm going to put in my reaction to getting every single one of the decisions. Some of these people, they stack up all their decisions and read them all at once. I do not have patience for that. So I just had my husband film me every time I sat down to open an admissions decision, and spoiler alert, it's all good news. Great. Most people just share the personal insight essay, but I actually think that that was probably my weakest essay, so I'm going to share all 4 of my essays with you, and hopefully you like them. So just so you know, as I read these, I was applying to the business economics program, or if they didn't have a business economics program, I applied to the economics program, got into all 4. Like I said, no big deal, but it is kind of a big deal. You'll see how big of a deal it was to me when you see my reaction at the end. So the first question, the personal insight question, please describe how you have prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at the university. After becoming a business owner, I became fascinated with the way people tend to express their general confidence, or lack thereof, in their community through the transactions they choose to enter into with other individuals and firms. While this information can certainly be used for personal gain, more importantly, it can be used to improve the quality of life for everyone in that community. One of the first things I learned when I started working in the automotive industry 7 years ago was that buying a car is, for most people, one of the most important purchasing decisions they will make in their lifetime. The weight of this reality guided my interactions with people interested in buying a car from my dealership. It is important to me, as the owner of an automotive brokerage and dealership firm, that my clients make decisions that are best for them, even if those decisions do not immediately benefit me. Giving my clients the space to consider all of their options ultimately gives them more confidence in me and the services that I offer. Having traveled to various dealerships across the country, I've come to realize that many dealerships today either don't understand this or have lost sight of this point altogether. This lack of vision has harmed the confidence that people have in the industry as a whole. It only takes one person with enough influence and knowledge to make a change that will begin to move entire industries into new directions. My educational success will give me the power to make the necessary changes in the industry. The 1.5 years that I have dedicated to excelling in college full-time has proven that I am capable of academic success. I take classes beyond what is required because I am grateful for the opportunity to learn. I read every book that is recommended by my professors outside of the standard curriculum because I am here to gain a well-rounded understanding of the subject matter. My goals aren't achieved after I earn my undergraduate degree. I will just be getting started. Describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. My record is 207 phone calls in one 8-hour shift. I had just landed a job at a Mercedes-Benz dealership following up on their dead leads. In other words, my responsibility was to try to sell a car to all the people the salespeople had already given up on months ago. Getting the job meant that I had to prove that I could be successful in a position in which everyone else believed that I was set up to fail. I soon realized that it was quite literally a numbers game, and that the more people I called, the more cars I sold. My success attracted the attention of a training company that asked me to head the team of their largest client, the 5th largest Toyota dealership in the country. However, when I started, there was no team, and they weren't our biggest client, yet. It took me an entire year to prove to the dealership management team that the program worked. When I surpassed over $1 million of additional revenue for the dealership from my phone calls alone, they were fully convinced that the program worked. They greenlit my plan to hire and train additional appointment setters to do what I had been doing for the last year. I was responsible for a team that grew from 1 to 6 in a matter of 6 months. I met daily with each team member to review their wins and areas of opportunity. I modeled for them what was expected, and it resulted in the dealership being ranked 5th in the country to 3rd. Years later, this dealership is still enjoying the success of that team. Leadership means creating something that continues to be successful long after you're gone. Describe how you have taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome an educational barrier you have faced. I was born to be an entrepreneur. As a young child, I turned my parents' living room into a nail salon and invited the neighbors over for manicures. My father still has the plans I drew up at 10 years old to make an electric car out of the rusty trailer buried in the weeds out in the backyard. I was sure the technology I had dreamed up would turn a handsome profit. In middle school, I had a business selling Starburst at school that earned me $100 a day. My father had recently taken an accounting class at the local community college, so he taught me how to calculate my profits in Excel. The school administrators eventually asked me to stop selling, but the business lessons the experience taught me turned out to be more beneficial than the money I earned. I have always had a deep appreciation for education, which is why I spent much of my childhood with my nose buried in a book. But when I graduated high school in 2009, my family lost our home to foreclosure, and I needed to move out to make my own way. Between the time spent at work and the 2-hour bus ride to and from home, there was not enough time to devote myself to my studies and realize the extraordinary academic success I was after. College isn't just something I want to get through. It is an experience that I want to take full advantage of. I've spent the last decade designing a life that would allow me to pursue an education at one of the top universities in the country. I just needed to find the time in my daily schedule. Selling Starburst in middle school taught me to look for an opportunity to fill a need in the market. As an adult, I found that need in the automotive industry. In turn, it's given me the time I need for school. I won't let it go to waste. Describe the most significant challenge you've faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? Ignorance is not bliss, but it certainly makes difficult undertakings easier to initiate. Not knowing how to open a car dealership in California ended up being the greatest asset I had when I decided to do just that, becoming one of the youngest female dealer principals in the state. I started in the automotive industry at the lowest point of my adult life. I had made a series of bad decisions up to that point that had led me to being unemployed and unable to pay my rent. It was then that I decided that I needed to explore my full potential, and I began working in one of the toughest sales environments, especially as a woman. I had many doubters along the way and was told that as a woman I couldn't make it in this business because of the competition, long hours, and high expectations. It wasn't just for my personal gratification that I needed to prove them wrong. It was for everyone who had ever been told that they wouldn't be able to succeed. I did more than show up to work for a paycheck. I studied sales psychology and read the work of the best salespeople in the country. I was willing to try sales techniques that others wouldn't so that I could gauge how my customers would respond. I tracked my progress and quantified the effectiveness of each approach. When I was ready to offer my uniquely curated car buying experience to the public, I didn't know how to complete the paperwork to open my business. I didn't understand what it would take to manage a successful business in the long term. However, I knew what it took to figure it out. I am humbled by my professors, by the authors of the books I've read, and by the courses I would have thought were too difficult for me to pass. My academic career will be accomplished with the same philosophy that I've had in my professional career. So I hope you liked my essays. I really enjoyed writing them. So now that I've shared with you my essays, I wanted to share with you guys some tips that I have for getting into one of these schools or even just approaching college at all. At the end of the day, you need to approach your secondary education with a very specific mindset. I did a video on why I don't believe that we should forgive student loan debt, and I do touch on some of these things, but I wanted to really apply those tips directly to somebody else's college experience or maybe future college experience, or maybe you don't really know if you want to have a college experience. The first one is that if you do not know what you want to study, do not go to college right out of high school. I don't care what your parents said, I will fight them. I will tell you right here and now, if you do not know what you're doing, don't go to college just to get a degree. Just having a degree will not do anything for you. Believe me, I worked with a lot of people that had a degree and I didn't, and I was their boss. I made more money than they did. Obviously, I have a reason for having gone back to college, but the reason I went back is because I'd worked for so long and I knew what it was that I wanted to learn. I knew the gaps that I wanted to fill in my own knowledge base. I think you should work in various positions, various industries, really figure out what it is you want to do. And it doesn't mean that the different positions and industries you're going to work in are going to be the job that you want, because obviously you would like to go to college and then be able to get a job that's better than what you could get without the degree. But it will allow you to be around people that perhaps are doing the things that you want to do. Like, let's say you want to be a lawyer, but you're not quite sure. You're not sure what it takes. You're not sure what a day in the life of a lawyer looks like. You can get a job as a receptionist. You can get a job as a janitor, just to be around the lawyer's office. You can get a job as the person that takes out the trash or brings them coffee. My next tip is you should specialize in something very specific when you go to college. That's what makes you valuable. If you go to school to get a communications degree because you don't know what it is that you want to do and you figure, well, this degree will kind of fit everything, that's going to make you less valuable, because that's what a lot of people are going to school for. If you get an undergraduate in psychology and you don't plan on specializing in psychology and going on and getting a graduate degree, it's really not going to serve you that well. Just because you understand the psychology of people, anybody who's got the drive and ambition to kind of understand the psychology of people can learn enough about the psychology of people to get a job in which that skill will be useful. So when you go to college, I think it's really important that you specialize in something that most people can't do. So originally I was going to go to school for business administration because the coursework was pretty easy. Comparatively speaking, I figured like I could get through it. I could get A's in all my classes. It wouldn't be that difficult. And I realized a lot of people get a degree in business administration because of that same reason. So I decided to pursue economics instead because it's more difficult. And I know that at the end of this, I'm going to be more valuable because I'll have a more specific skill set. I do plan on taking my undergraduate and applying to law school, so it's not the end of my educational career. But even even if that's all I plan to do, I could leave this degree and be especially valuable as an analyst at a firm that I wouldn't have been able to get that job had I had a more broad degree. The next tip I have is go to community college first. Unless you have no problem paying for school, there's no reason to spend all that extra money on the 2 years of the lower division courses when you're going to end up with the same degree at the end. When I graduate from UCLA, nobody's going to ask me, well, where did you do your first 2 years? We need to know that, and that's going to change our decision. That's not going to happen. I got into UCLA. The classes that I took prior to that in my community college were just as rigorous, if not more so. Also, be selective about the community college that you choose. Not all community colleges are created equal. I was lucky enough to live very close to a community college that's ranked as one of the top in the country. And so that does make a difference. If you plan to go to a state college in your state, there are some community colleges that they view more favorably than others because they have agreements worked out with them. There's a lot of transfer students from that community college into their school. So that is all something that you should take into account. But at the end of the day, if that's going to be prohibitory to you actually going, just go if you're really ready to go and you know what you're going for. Also, I feel like this is common knowledge, but maybe it's not. When you go to community college, it pretty much erases any kind of performance that you had in high school. I got 4.0 my first 2 years in college. My high school years were not as good. My freshman and sophomore year of high school, I got 2.9 GPA. After that, I got maybe a 3.2. I got like a 3.8, 3.9 weighted GPA my senior year, but that's because I took a lot of AP classes, so it weighted my grade. But for the most part, I was a C and B student at most, like at best. There's a few classes I think I even got a D, and the only reason I got a D is because my teacher liked me and didn't want to fail me altogether. I did not do well in high school. I wasn't interested in high school. I didn't like high school. I didn't like the people that I went to high school with. Sorry if you're watching this, but I probably didn't like you. No, I'm kidding. Maybe I did. No, I probably didn't, to be honest. I mean, just statistically speaking, I didn't like most people that I went to high school with. I remember growing up, going through middle school, people would tell me, well, it's going to be on your permanent record. Your grades in middle school are going to be on your permanent record. And then I started screwing off and I wasn't getting good grades. And they said, okay, well, you have to really start paying attention in high school because that's going to be on your permanent record. That's going to be on your permanent record. And then high school, I started screwing off and everyone's like, okay, well, you know, now you're kind of screwed. But you're not screwed at all. Like, I mean, at all. It did not, I don't even think that my high school grades were taken into account. It's a totally different experience, and just, there's no reason to even worry about your high school grades if you go to community college first. And the great thing about community college is they don't deny anybody admission. So that's your chance to really show these high level schools that you're capable. And the last tip that I have is do not start going to school until you can't see yourself getting anything less than an A in all of your classes. It's a mindset 100%, because I see younger students that I'm in class with that do the bare minimum to pass. They're happy with a B, they're happy with a C. As long as they've got the credits and as long as they're moving on to the next step, they're not really worried about whether or not they're getting an A. But when you start going to school, if you have the mindset that there's no reason that I should be getting anything less than an A in all of my classes, it changes your study habits, it changes your focus, it changes everything about how you look at that. You look at it like a job, that the assignments that my professor gives me, that's your job. You have to fulfill those guidelines. And that's really what part of what college gets you prepared for. So when you approach school like that, it's hard to fail. It's really hard to fail unless you have a terrible professor, which also happens sometimes. But that's just life. Sometimes you have a terrible boss too, and you got to drop the class or drop the job and find something better. So I hope you really enjoyed that. Now I'm going to let you enjoy my very embarrassing reactions. This is uncensored. So thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed my essays. I hope my tips were helpful. If you have any other tips for college success, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say. All right, have a good day. Bye.
Let's see, where did we get into? This one is UCLA in city of Irvine.
No, UCI. Okay.
That's why he's rubbing against me.
I got in.
No way!
Look,
Yes!
look, come here, look at the little... I got into my first college!
Take one of UCSB acceptance, checking.
Okay, honey.
Go.
We don't need the intro. So UC Santa Barbara has a 30% acceptance rate. So 70% of people that apply don't get it. So let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm nervous. Why am I shaking? I got in.
You got in.
I got in.
No way.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got an answer from Berkeley. Berkeley is 13% acceptance rate. So, if I don't get into this one, you won't be sad because it's very hard to get into this one, and it's not a reflection of my work, it just means that there was a lot of applicants, so.
Yes.
I got accepted to Berkeley.
No.
I got, sorry. I got accepted to Berkeley. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. So this is for UCLA.
Let's do this.
I don't even want to look. I don't even want to look. Oh my god, I don't even want to look.
Do you want me to look?
No, I want to look. I got in.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Good job, baby. Congratulations. You're broomed, honey. Woo! Yes.
Okay.
Good job.